Joining us now, a man who is not unruly and, quite frankly, feeling much better, thank goodness, Blaine Fowler. Blaine, good to have you back on the show, man.
Hey, good to be with you guys. You had to give me a couple extra days to the end of the week to get healthy.
You
so
sound better, dude. You just sound way better.
Oh, you know what? All it takes is sleeping with your pillow and blanket right in front of the toilet for a night to make you appreciate feeling good, right?
Yeah, when the producer of the men's basketball game, Caitlin Jenny, called me Saturday and said, well, Blaine texted me from his bathroom floor. He's not going to make it. I was like, all right, I'm in.
When I sent Caitlin that text, I said, first thing you need to know is I have never missed a game, 700 and some games in 28 years.
That's amazing.
Whoa.
But this text is originating from my bathroom floor, so that puts it all in perspective.
Oh, my goodness.
Glad to hear you're better.
You are the Cal Ripken of BYU broadcasting.
You were the Cal Ripken.
Yeah, you're the Iron Man. Hey,
the streak is over. I got to start a new one.
Let's talk BYU basketball first, Blaine. Dave Rose has mentioned that he wants to use his guards in the post more to make up for the lack of post scoring or a post scoring threat for BYU. What do you think about this proposition, and what do you think about, or what do you think rather that BYU will do tonight to make that effective?
Well, I wish they wouldn't have to do it. I wish that they could get some production out of their bigs down there. When you look at BYU's points in the paint right now, it's a little bit deceiving because all of their points in the paint are coming on layups and transition and drives from that guard line into the paint. They're just getting nothing with any back to the basket type of offense. And BYU has a whole portion of their offense that's been ineffective when they like to throw the ball into the post and play inside out, where they force a defense to collapse inside into the paint and then to distribute that basketball back inside to the outside. They haven't had any of that this year. And I know that Dave wants to have that part of their offense have some impact in the game, and they just haven't had it, especially in the last couple of weeks. So I wish they wouldn't have to do it, but I do think it's a good move. I think that Kyle Collinsworth is big enough. I think that Tyler's good enough with his back to the basket and down low that they can do some things to make defenses defend a little bit more, defend something different. Because right now, BYU's getting its shots either by dribble penetration, and think about it. If Anson Winder is not healthy, which we're hearing, that takes away one of their best guys off the dribble to collapse the defense. And then they get their shots with rotation where they're passing the ball around the perimeter. So they have to have something to make defenses defend a little bit more in the paint and get their rotations out of that, something to prepare for. So, I think it's a great idea. I think that he has to do it. It's just a shame that he has to do it, that they can't get more production out of those bigs down low.
Yeah, and I've called Anson Winder BYU's best rim runner. I think that he's the best on the team at that. So if he can't go tonight, who do you see making up the Anson Winder production?
Well, I think that Bartley may have to play more minutes because he's a guy that can be a motor in transition. You know how good Anson is at getting out and helping tempo with this basketball team by pushing the basketball in transition. And then he is absolutely the best guy on this team at being explosive with that first step and just blowing by somebody and forcing defensive rotations as he attacks the basket. He's great. That's not taking anything away from Kyle Collinsworth. I'm just talking about explosive first step. And with Kyle and Anson on the floor, you got to kind of have a 1-2 where you can swing the basketball, and then either or can take the ball, dribble, and break down defense. So without Anson, who can do that? Well, Chase Fisher is capable. He doesn't do it as much as he probably could. He may need to do that a little bit more tonight and on Saturday if Anson's not able to go. And then I think maybe Bartley gets a few more minutes. And Skylar Halford, he's shown us that he doesn't have to be just a spot-up jump shooter. He can attack a little bit as well. But you're going to have those guys like Bartley, guys like Halford, step up, Chase Fisher, step up and do a little bit more because Anson Winder can make a case for being, if not the MVP, there's really a 1-2-3 punch on this basketball team, and he's been part of that. So this is huge if he's not 100%.
Blaine Fowler with us, BYU national champion quarterback in 1984, and now a dual threat analyst for us on BYUtv and our friends at ESPN. Blaine, let's ask you the Twitter question today. How confident are you in BYU Hoops' ability to go 2-0 this weekend on the road, knowing that Anson Winder is questionable for tonight, and we're not sure how much BYU is going to get out of him on Saturday?
Well, I'm not as concerned about tonight. As I look at what Pacific's done this year, lost to Irvine. They have some wins against Nevada and Fresno State, who are decent teams. But USF, Santa Clara. I look at who they've beaten, and I look up the makeup of this team. Their guards don't scare me to death. Anson is usually the best perimeter defender for BYU as well. He's got the lateral quickness to stay in front of a penetrating guard. I think they can go out, and I'm confident that this Pacific game is a game that they can win regardless. Now St. Mary's makes me a little bit more nervous, so I have to break him in half. I really wish that they had Nate Austin back for St. Mary's, and I know that from 4 or 5 weeks ago that was a target for him, and I don't know that he's ready to go, and that hurts because Waldo is somebody that BYU just doesn't have an answer for inside. So that one makes me a little more nervous. I'm very confident that they can get a win against Pacific. And right now in my mind, without Anson Winder, I'm 50-50 with St. Mary's on the road. So not only do you not have Anson, you don't have Nate Austin possibly on Saturday. That makes me nervous against St. Mary's. And this is a St. Mary's team that their wins, they're on a win streak right now. And I know that they had a fairly close game, kind of a gritty game where they didn't shoot it well against Pacific. But previous to that, 6 games where they've been lighting it up and playing really well and just kind of handling teams. So I'm nervous about that one, guys. Should I be nervous?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. BYU's, we addressed this yesterday. How sustainable is the 4-guard lineup for BYU? One element we didn't discuss, which has come to fruition today, is if one of those guys is hurt, that's a huge blow because you just don't have that kind of firepower off the bench. You were bringing Anson off the bench, but now you're not, and so you just don't have the weapons. It's not like you can say, all right, well, maybe Corbin Kafusi gets a few more post touches and shots. It's just not there. So you have to have Tyler Haws, Kyle Collinsworth, and Chase Fisher essentially carry the weight.
Yeah, Chase Fisher has to be – he's got to be really good. And Chase Fisher, when you look at his numbers, you go, wow, his numbers look good. He's been a little bit streaky. So he's had games where he's phenomenal. And when he's phenomenal – BYU's been unstoppable, right?
Yeah, 12-1.
What's the stat?
12-1 when Chase scores in double figures, and when he doesn't score in double figures, BYU 2-4.
Wow.
But here's the challenge they're going to have to issue to him this week. It's not just about being consistent for 2 games on the road, scoring the ball. He's going to have to play better defense, and he's a capable defender because if you don't have Anson Winder 100%, even if Anson plays and he's just not quite the lateral quickness that he's had with that knee bothering him, that kills you defensively. He literally is your best perimeter defender. And he keys the defense, and he keys steals that you get. And, a lot of the steals that Kyle Collinsworth gets are with Anson's guy giving the ball up and him getting in the passing lane. And so it's not just about Chase getting out and scoring consistently for 2 games. It's about him upping his defensive effort. And it's about those guys coming off the bench understanding that, wow, this isn't just a scorer and a penetrator that is not healthy. This is a really good defender. And that's something we sometimes don't think about. And they're going to need that. And you know what? St. Mary's has got a great inside-out game. You combine Waldo, and we always talk about Waldo in the middle, and he's phenomenal. But Kerry Carter is a beast on the outside to defend. And Aaron Bright, the Stanford transfer, is another guy that can cause you problems on the outside. So they have 2 really good guards wrapped around probably the best. Well, I don't want to say the best center. You know what?
I think
Brad
he
Waldo
is.
Maybe I think it's
Who's better? Karnowski's not better.
You're right. Karnowski is just more of a load down there and
Wilcher's
harder
a
to deal
tall
with.
3.
But if you talk about from a skill set side, the whole deal, I think we can call Brad Waldo the best. He's averaging a double-double.
Yeah.
He's averaging 20 and
He's the
10.
best. He's the best.
Yeah. So we'll just call him the best center. So you got the best center in the league, and you want to know what? I'll take Kerry Carter and Aaron Bright at that guard line. So it's not just about scoring for Chase Fisher. He's got to defend his head off this week as well, and that's what it's going to take for them to get a win on Saturday. Now, I think to get a win, they're all going to have to dig down and do it against Pacific, but I don't think Pacific is a really confident team right now. I think BYU can just go out and score them. But they're going to have a special effort out of guys on Saturday to get a win at St. Mary's.
Blaine, let's utilize your true dual threat analyst abilities here and talk football for just a minute. And so in 1 minute, I would like you to assess the current state of BYU football with transfers Dallin Levitt and Braden Kersley leaving, one for Utah State, the other for Oregon State, and now where the BYU football Cougars are right now.
Well, those 2 hurt. And you know what? It hurts because they're young guys that had a lot of playing time. With all the injuries BYU had this last season, the bright side, the silver lining was, well, you know what? Guys like Kersley and Levitt had to play. And so now, guess what? They come back with experience. So it hurts. But you know what? if they're feeling like they're not a fit, then you've got to support them and let them go. I do think enough other young players. I think about anchoring that offensive line, Kyle Johnson, how good he was as a sophomore. I think about Tijon Karoma as a freshman and how good he was. To me, BYU takes a step forward if they can stay healthy. This is when I say it's a step forward, maybe not a step forward with the number of wins, but they'll be a much better football team because I think they'll be even better again next year on the offensive line, even without Kersley. There's enough depth there and enough guys that play. And when you get your quarterback and your feature running back back, hey, that makes a big deal, a big difference. So you keep those guys healthy, great receiving core coming back, a defense that Bronco's going to be way more involved with and calling the plays for, which I think makes a big difference. So I think they're going to be better than they were this last season. But it all comes back to that you've got to stay healthy. You got to stay healthy.
Yeah, that's the buzzword.
And so if they stay healthy, I like their chances to be better. Do they get 10 or 11 wins? Well, I'll go look at the schedule in September, and then we'll talk about that.
Blaine, great to talk to you. Glad you're feeling better.
Thanks, guys. Good to be back. Good to be healthy.